Hey guys, welcome back to the DrCliffAuD vlog. This is vlog number 61, and it is official. As of March 1st, I am no longer in network with any insurance or managed care groups, and that excludes Medicare. And I can't opt out of Medicare as an audiologist, so I'm essentially forced to be in Medicare and accepting their rates for reimbursement for hearing tests specifically. But if you missed my post a couple months ago, I did a couple insurance posts, and the purpose of those posts were to kind of inform you that insurance reimbursement has gotten so ridiculously bad to the point where you lose money, or you come very close to losing money every single time that you see a patient. And so we just felt like, all of the ones that were egregiously bad to where it was almost impossible to turn a profit to any degree, we decided to go out of network. And a lot of times when you go out of network with some of these like more managed care group situations like you get with Medicare Advantage plans and a variety of other insurance companies when they partner with a managed care group, is that you can't go to that provider and get any coverage whatsoever. So there is no out-of-network benefit for a different provider. If you find a different provider that you like, you basically can't go to them unless you're willing to pay completely 100% out of pocket. I was prompted to make those videos because there were insurance companies that were cutting our reimbursement by 50%. 50%. And that is for coverage that wasn't fantastic to begin with. And, to think that you could agree contractually to accept a certain allowed amount, accept a certain amount of reimbursement rather, from an insurance company or a managed care group in that particular circumstance, to think that they could just cut it down by 50% and think that providers wouldn't leave in droves. Now, I know that a ton of providers have been leaving insurance here lately because they know that they just can't make ends meet by accepting insurance benefits anymore. Now, we tried to hang on as long as humanly possible, and I still have a provider inside of my clinic who is accepting, or who rather is in network with certain insurance companies, and we'll keep him there as long as possible until his schedule gets so jam-packed, just like mine, to where it doesn't make any sense to fill appointment times with individuals that we literally don't make any money on. And I know this sounds horrible, that we're choosing making money over serving patients, but at the end of the day, if we don't make money as a clinic, we go out of business, and then we're not serving anybody. So basically how it works with insurance is that a hearing care provider will contract with an insurance company or a managed care group, and we will agree to certain terms of how much they will reimburse us and then what we have to do in order to get that reimbursement. And sometimes it's that we have a certain allowed amount that we can charge to the insurance. So let's just say that typical hearing aid treatment that would cover the cost of devices, the fitting of those devices over a certain period of time, and a certain amount of follow-up care would traditionally cost privately $6,000. Well, the insurance company's like, well, we're not going to pay you the $6,000. How about we pay you $4,000 to do that? And we're like, okay, I mean, we'll take that $2,000 hit in order to allow our patients to use their insurance benefits. So what happens is that we submit a $6,000 charge essentially to the insurance company, and then they will pay us $4,000 because that is the allowed amount. Now, there's always percentages there as well. So like if you have to pay 20% of that, then they will only pay us 80% of that allowed amount, whatever that allowed amount is. In this case, $4,000. They would pay us 80% of the $4,000. You would pay 20% of the $4,000 in order for you to receive the hearing treatment. The crazy thing about this is that over time, these insurance companies, they will actually reduce the allowed amount on a lot of these things, or reduce the reimbursement of a fitting fee that they would pay you for actually treating a patient with hearing devices. And I don't know if the last time you checked that inflation is actually going the opposite way, to where each year that goes by, the value of a dollar drops. And so when we actually, even if they kept reimbursement exactly the same, we would be losing money year over year in relation to the year that came prior. So this means a couple of things. It either means that we have to treat more patients in order to obtain the same amount of reimbursement, or we have to cut down the amount of time that we spend with the patient so we can have more time with other patients who are not using their insurance or who are going out of network with their insurance in order to essentially pay privately with our clinic, and then those individuals subsidize the individuals who are using their insurance, which in my mind isn't necessarily fair or ethical. Now, another thing that some insurance companies have started to do that is directly affecting us as well is that we've been in network with them for a number of years, and really since we started the clinic back in 2017. And once you're in network, then a member who's using that insurance can go to anyone who's in network and they can use their insurance benefits there. But what they've started to do is they've started to tier different facilities. So if there's a facility that does a ton of insurance, then that facility will get ranked higher than a facility like mine, who doesn't necessarily do as many, doesn't submit as many claims. And so what'll happen is that when a patient's looking for a facility, they'll say, okay, well, if you go to this top tier facility, we will make your deductible like $500, right? So you pay $500 and then you get 100% benefit after that. But if they go to me, their deductible is $2,000, and then they pay 100% after you pay $2,000 out of pocket. So essentially, they're incentivizing you going to a clinic that churns through insurance patients. And I can guarantee you, for them to end up turning a profit, they have to see a lot more people, and they have to cut down the amount of time and the quality of care that they provide. So when it comes down to it, we're still in network, but a patient is disincentivized to come to us even though we're willing to spend all this time with them and give them a better outcome and better experience than what they would get at one of these top tier facilities. The other thing that goes on here is that we believe that we should be providing an extremely high level of care to every single one of our patients. So just because you're an insurance individual where our reimbursement is super low, it doesn't mean that we're willing to cut corners in order to just kind of get you in and get you out the door with your hearing treatment, make a chunk of money, and then move on with our lives. We have a very strict protocol in terms of when patients come in to get hearing devices. We want to have the best hearing devices possible. We put them through a 45-day fitting sequence where they spend over 4 hours worth of total time with us as a hearing care provider inside of that window to make sure that we optimize their performance with their devices. And then we see them in the first year 4 times to make sure that we understand how much care they're ultimately going to need going forward, and then we adjust from that point on. When we have an insurance patient come in, we are giving them that same quality of care even though the amount that we get from the insurance we know doesn't cover the cost of that time. And so we were able to do this for a period of time when you're not as busy, when you're a new clinic and you have time to just spend with people, and it's like, well, we weren't going to see another patient during that time anyway, so I might as well commit that time to this patient who's using insurance the same as we would with someone who's paying privately for that. Now, does it really make me feel good that we are basically saying if you're in network with pretty much any insurance that you can't come to us unless you're willing to use the out-of-network benefit with your insurance company? No, it doesn't make me feel good. And I know that a lot of these insurance companies, they're not even giving you the option of out-of-network care to where you could come to us, you just get less of a benefit by coming to us from them. So you end up paying some more out of pocket, but even that's starting to go away. I mean, when you start looking at a lot of these managed care groups, so whether it's, True Hearing, whether it's Epic, whether it's, Hearing Care Solutions, whatever it is, if your insurance company contracts with one of those groups, you can't come to me. So if you have a True Hearing benefit that says you get 100% coverage and you're like, yeah, I understand I get 100% coverage with that clinic, but that clinic, the last time I went to them, they did not do a good job for me at all. I want to go to Applied Hearing Solutions and work with Dr. Cliff, and I'm willing to spend a little more money out of pocket in order to do so. But if they contract with True Hearing, you can't come to me and get any kind of coverage. It's either you go to a True Hearing network provider or you don't go anywhere, or you have to pay out of pocket completely when you go somewhere else. And it kind of seems unfair. And I don't think a lot of people understand really what's going on with their insurance. In fact, it's gotten so bad in my clinic to the point where I have insurance for myself and my family that I pay for privately in the private sector because I'm a self-employed individual. I don't get it through my work, so I get to basically pick whatever insurance that I want. And as I've kind of gone through this experience with my own clinic and kind of seeing how providers are treated by these insurance companies, I actually feel bad using my insurance when I go in for anything medically related. It's gotten that bad to the point where the only reason I have insurance now is that if something catastrophic were to happen to myself or Ashley, and then we, if it was like millions of dollars worth of care that we need because of cancer or major surgery or something like that, we would at least have insurance as protection. But I'm starting to honestly here in 2021, when I go into these different facilities, I'm strongly thinking of asking to pay privately because I know that clinic is not making hardly anything off of providing me with services. The dentist, chiropractor, all of these different facilities that are providing health care, I know that they are eating it really, really bad when I go in there and use my insurance. And the thing is that I can afford to pay out of pocket to a large degree for a lot of these routine medical things that we go in for, or dental things that we go in for. Now, I know not everybody's like that, but the unfortunate, name of the game is that if you want your insurance to cover better and cover more things, don't complain to the hearing care provider. Don't complain to your doctor. Don't complain to your dentist. You have to complain to the insurance company. You have to say, listen, I'm paying you this money to provide me with coverage, and you're basically restricting my ability to go and get care where I want to get care. And you have to be aware of these types of things. When there's these Medicare Advantage plans come out, and they make it seem all great and like, oh, you get hearing aids, and you get vision, and you get all this other stuff on top of what Medicare would provide to you. They don't tell you that you have to go to a certain place and that they restrict what you can actually get, and it ends up being really bad for you in terms of actually getting benefit from hearing treatment or whatever treatment that you go in for. And, I still think we need insurance. We need insurance for people to be able to afford different type of medical procedures and care and all of that, but at what cost? Everyone pays good money for insurance, and these insurance companies are just trying to basically make it to where it's almost impossible to use their insurance and impossible for the providers who you rely on to go and receive care from. It's impossible for them to stay in business by accepting these insurance rates unless they're willing to cut the quality of care and time they spend with you so much. Okay, I understand that I'm ranting a lot here, but I want to finish off by saying this. As an audiologist, I cannot opt out of Medicare, which means that I have to accept Medicare's rates. I have to submit to Medicare at their allowed amount and receive payment on that. The amount of money that they pay for a hearing test, all right? So a hearing test takes about 20 minutes worth of time to administer, depending on who I'm working with, and then another probably 20 minutes at least to explain that hearing test in a really high level detail to where a patient can understand it and know how that affects their hearing ability. And they pay $38 to do that. And to give you an idea, the cost of my sound booth and the cost of my audiometer is about $30,000 combined. That does not include the space that I need to have it in and pay rent on, and it does not include the cost of the time of the provider that needs to be spent doing the testing of that. And if you break down how many hearing tests I would need to do to even break even, it would be over 1,000 hearing tests to do that. And it's just, it cracks me up. And in fact, it's to the point where it would probably make more sense if I paid a Medicare beneficiary to go somewhere else and get a hearing test and bring that hearing test into our clinic so I can evaluate that for them and then determine treatment based off of that. It literally, it's like, it's a losing money proposition for me to even do a hearing test. And here's the crazy thing. Medicare wants to reduce those rates going forward. So it's just like, oh my gosh, audiologists are trying to become limited licensed practitioners that would ultimately give them the option to opt out of Medicare as well and have patients pay privately to get their hearing tests. Now, whether or not we would do that, I don't know, to be quite honest with you. We don't really make a whole lot of money on hearing tests anyway, but at least we can charge and break even on it in a realistic time frame if people pay privately for their hearing tests. But I don't know. It seems kind of comical the way that insurance is going, and whether you believe in like insurance for all or whatnot. Like, as long as people have the option to pay privately to go somewhere and receive a high level of care, that's all I really care about. And it's just kind of crummy that people can't necessarily use their insurance benefits in that way. And, at this point, I'm just kind of relieved that I'm out of insurance completely other than Medicare, so I don't have to worry about it. People who value high quality care can come in to see me. If it's something that's not important to them, they can go somewhere else and receive whatever quality of care they're going to get somewhere else. I believe that everybody has a right to hear the best they possibly can, but at the end of the day, that only happens if clinics can stay in business. Clinics who want to provide a really high level of care can stay in business, and it costs more money to do that because of the amount of time and the amount of procedures that have to be done in order to stay in business. So that is enough for my rant today. Hopefully this is one of the last insurance videos that I make. I know that there's going to be some negative comments from you guys out there, but just know my allegiance is to my patients and making sure that they are receiving the highest quality care possible, and anything that comes in the way of that is something that I resist wholeheartedly. And if that's insurance, if that's something else, I'm going to basically do everything in my power not to support those types of programs, those organizations or whatever, and continue to serve my patients to the best of my capability. And so that is it for this week's video, guys. If you liked it, make sure you go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. And as always, I'll see you next week.